Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel.
Okay, Leah, stop. Stop flinging your arms.
This is how I talk on YouTube.
You like this?
Yes, this is how I talk on YouTube. It's your own show. My super short show.
No.
Girl, I learned from Disney Channel.
No. Okay, oh no.
Hey guys. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Leah. Today I am joined by my sister Tyler.
Hey.
Her name is Tyler. Yep. It's our first time doing a video together.
Oh.
If you're new here, consider subscribing. We're gonna have a great talk today talking about singleness and kind of like her journey. We forgot to pray.
We still can.
So today we're gonna be talking about singleness, forgiveness.
Oh gosh.
So I'm telling you, this is how I do the videos. It's not
gosh.
as seamless as you would think. Hey. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about singleness and forgiveness and just preparing your heart for marriage and a little bit of my sister's story and her journey. God definitely put on her heart to share some. So I was like, what better place than on YouTube? So yeah, before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out to Faithful Counseling for sponsoring today's video. If you have followed me for any period of time, then you are familiar with Faithful Counseling. Basically, Faithful Counseling is an online counseling service in which you can be paired up with a licensed professional in your city, in your state, and it's for Christian counseling. So I personally am a huge advocate for counseling and specifically Christian counseling. And I know that you are an advocate for counseling as well.
Yes, counseling is so wonderful. It's really helped change my life around, change my perspective. And by me getting counseling, I'm able to inspire other people around me to get counseling. And I'm also able to share the wisdom that I've learned through counseling with the people closest to me.
Yeah, I feel like it used to be kind of like a stigma, you know, that you're crazy if you go to counseling or there's something wrong with you. But I always say that there's something right with you if you do go to counseling, because you're taking it upon yourself to like work through some of that mental stuff. And you know, you go to the gym, you take care of your physical body, so like we have to take care of our minds as well. So yeah, huge shout out to them for sponsoring this video. If you are interested in checking out their services, all you would do is go to faithfulcounseling.com/Leah. They would ask you a few different questions like what your age is, your gender, and just some basic questions to get you set up with a counselor in your area. What's great about it is you can get counseling via messaging, phone, video chat, whatever works best for you. So I know like sometimes it's hard to find a counselor, and it's also difficult to make that time in your schedule depending on like what people have going on. So it's very convenient. But if you are interested in checking it out for yourself, definitely click the link in the description box and you will get 10% off your first month. All right, so this is Tyler. If you, like I said, if you guys have watched my vlogs before, you've seen her. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen her. How old are you? I'm 25.
27.
So people sometimes think I'm older, but she's definitely older.
Yes, I have come to set the record straight. I'm the big sis.
She's the big sis.
She wants to be the big sister so bad sometimes.
I mean, I might as well be.
No.
People see it, so obviously it's true.
Just wait till I'm real old. Then we're gonna talk.
So yeah, Tyler, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
So yeah, I'm Leah's big sister. You know, we're from Illinois. I went to Spelman and Georgia Tech, studied math and mechanical engineering. And when I was at Georgia Tech, I realized that art was really, really therapeutic for me. And so I started to paint. And so since I graduated, I moved to Chicago and got a corporate job here, and I decided to paint a lot more. And since I've been pouring into my artwork, my platform has grown a lot on social media, and my art has gone very viral, and my goal really is to inspire people through my paintings. And I like my artwork to be very close to my story and help with healing. And so it was really important for me to really start talking more about my singleness journey, because I feel like I carry a different burden when it comes to loneliness or singleness and the challenges associated with navigating in this space. And I really want to encourage the next person that you can go through it. And I think sometimes it can be hard because a lot of the people that talk about singleness aren't single anymore. And so it's really different to connect with that person because times are changing. Yeah. You know, the singleness when my sister was single versus the singleness I'm experiencing now is different.
Yeah. It's tough. I feel like nowadays, like, it's hard to meet a quality person. I feel like that was the case for myself as well. But I feel like now people are just awkward. Like, I don't even feel like guys even like come up to you and approach you, you know? And it's like, I feel like people are so unsocialized these days that it just makes it kind of like difficult, you know, to meet somebody, especially if you're not interested in doing dating apps and stuff like that.
Yeah, it can be a little challenging. So I just wanted to make sure that I speak to this space while I'm in this space, because I know God isn't going to keep me single forever, but I think that there's a purpose associated with it. And so that's why I don't want me being quiet about it to be one of the things that hinders me from getting to what God has for me. So I just wanted to really open up and share and be a little bit transparent with you guys, because when I went through a really bad breakup about 2 years ago, I was so broken and so devastated, and I needed some sort of source to help me feel encouraged and feel like I could make it through this breakup. And so I really turned to YouTube. So I'm not very big as far as like posting my own videos on YouTube, but I really search for encouragement. And so I think it's about time that I start putting something out there to help encourage people that are in the shoes that I'm in, or in the shoes that I've been walking through.
Yeah, and I feel like society definitely idolizes like marriage and relationships, and it makes, I know, you know, it makes it seem like once you become married, it's like you have that stamp of approval as a woman, you know? But it's just like, that's not true. And I feel like it leads a lot of people to get into bad relationships, to rush before it's really God's time, because every relationship is not a God ordained relationship.
It's not. And speaking to that, I used to feel like I could pick my person. And so I would kind of get into these relationships that maybe wasn't like naturally formed, and that wasn't something that God put his blessing on, but something that I said, hey, like, this is what I want. It's time for me to be in a relationship. So I'm going to do whatever I can do to make this work. And then God, can you please bless it? But you know, I've really had to purge some of my old tendencies and some of my old desires out of my heart. And that was one of my biggest prayers while I was healing. God, please change the desires of my heart, because I still wanted these relationships that I knew were not something that God sent to me. But I had to learn, no, like, if you want something to be right, let it be of God. And so it's been very difficult to walk in a single space saying, hey, you know, this seems like a good thing, but is it a God thing?
Yeah, it takes a certain level of like discipline, because you literally like change your ways. You weren't like, you didn't make like a 180, but you made like a strong 90-degree turn.
I turned real sharp.
And like you set your standards higher, and it's like the reward for that is gonna be worth it, you know? But it's like you have to do that hard work now, but it is challenging now. And it is hard sometimes to speak from it now. So like, I had done that video about like being single, Christian, and having standards, and I was in a similar place that she's in, and I felt similar to you. I felt like God really put it on my heart to talk about this. Like, I should talk about it. I know, and I put it off for months, and it's very challenging to put yourself out there. But I know from experience, so many people need to hear the journey and to be encouraged. And I think it is challenging when it's people who are married or in relationships speaking to that singleness, because it's not the same as like, this is where I am and I'm with you. So I think that is great that like you're making the effort to share more of your faith, especially when the artwork you do is so popular. It's like you're really trying to like weave God into what you're doing. So I want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
So I know that you mentioned that you changed like some of your ways. Like, what have you really done differently?
Yeah, I think in the past I really felt like I had the power to create the life that I wanted, and that if I did this, then I would get the result. And so I think growing up, it feels like you kind of have to do that, especially when it comes to education or making it in this world. If you don't put in the work, you're not going to be the one who gets rewarded. And so I also took that same definition and applied it toward my own life when it comes to relationships. So I felt like if I behave this way, if I approach this person, if I do this, then I'll get the relationship that I want. And so I had to learn that I shouldn't be the one that has to do all of the pursuing, and that a man should come and, you know, approach me. And that's something that's very difficult because I'm not often interested in people. So when I am, it's like really hard for me not to say like, hey, like, you know, I'm interested in you. So I'm really trying to slow down. I was the same way,
because if you see there's some sort of connection, you just want to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be playing with you.
I'm not going to play
what it is. But it's like when you put that foot forward, it changes the dynamic of the situation because guys need to pursue. And I know that might be like people might think that's like an outdated mentality, but I feel like it sets the tone for the relationship.
It does.
And I definitely used to do that in the past. But it doesn't feel the same, you know, because you want to feel like the prize, and you are the prize. And in the meantime, you know, before you do meet your future spouse, it's okay to be by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, but it's still difficult, especially when you're used to, you know, trying to fill that void. Because even though for myself, like when I was in college, I felt like I always wanted somebody around. Like I was very lonely. And I just remember writing in my journal, like I have read it back, like, because one situationship had ended and I just felt so heartbroken. I'm like, it wasn't love, but it felt like it. And that still hurts.
Yeah.
So it's easy to like emulate what you're looking for and kind of like have that counterfeit, you know, in the meantime. So deciding that you're not going to do that anymore it's a huge change. It's a lifestyle change because you fill that void, and now you go to having to deal with other ways to deal with that void. And I think you've done a really great job at that. And I had to go through that too. And I think it's going to be helpful for you in the long run because you're learning how to deal with your emotions, your feelings of loneliness, and working through it and like relying on God.
Yeah. Like my sister, she knows, like another thing that I've done is I've kind of like, I don't know if you listen to Michael Todd, but he has really transformed my life.
We listen to Michael Todd.
He has really transformed my life when it comes to like relationship space. And he spoke about being planted and not buried. And so with that, I knew I was in a space of me being planted and like getting the nourishment I need so that when it's time to grow, I grow strong. And so with that, it comes in a place of darkness. It comes in a place of isolation, a place of loneliness. And I'm not sitting here recommending that you all need to be alone, but sometimes you need to know when you need to be in privacy and when you can't just be out in certain settings. So for example, I don't go out to the club. I'm not out drinking all the time. Like these are areas of my life that I had to change. Like I don't want to be in the space where I was finding people in my past. Like, I'm not going to find my man in the club. I don't want to find my man in the club.
But it's easy to feel like if I just go out, I'm going to meet somebody. And that's how I used to feel too.
Yeah. So, it's a lot of pressure because you feel like, okay, I'm at home, I'm by myself, I'm lonely. Right. But I'll go out to the club, and if I'm not meeting the type of person that I want to meet, then I still come home and I'm lonely, and I'm even more upset because I put all this effort in trying to be a certain type of a girl, look a certain type of way, and if I leave without getting what I wanted, then I'm even more disappointed. So like for me, I spend a lot of time in my home painting. So this is one of my pieces back here, and I love to paint, but it also can be difficult. So it's both therapeutic but also difficult because I spend a lot of time painting alone, and so the loneliness still builds up.
I'm on FaceTime
sometimes. Well, a lot of times she's on FaceTime, but she's not a man, so it's just a different
whatever you need me to be.
Y'all, this is the real her. This is what I deal with 24/7. But it's like I want a man, so it's hard not having that male companionship or that male, you know, energy around me. It's very difficult because I do have female friends. I have a sister, but it's like I want a man. Like I want the life that I know I deserve. Like I want to be able to build a family. But it's really hard knowing that you're doing all the things that you feel like God has told you to do, but you still aren't in a situation that says, oh, I made it. So I'm still planted.
The season that you're in right now, like when I was single, like because I was single the majority of my life, like people, like I'm in a relationship now, I'm married now, but beforehand I never had I had one relationship, wasn't serious, wasn't really love, you know, and I spent so many years by myself single. I know you were in relationships more often throughout your life than I was. Our brother's always in a relationship. I was always single. And I'm just like, dang, you know, but I really got to the point where, this is before I even had met Corey, I'm just like, I feel like I am married and I'm living the married lifestyle.
That's how I'm feeling.
And I don't have anybody.
That's how I'm feeling, y'all. I feel like I am such a wife alone.
Yes, but this is the thing. This is the thing. So that when Corey and I did meet, I didn't have to make any changes. You
Yeah.
know, you're already living, like you're operating in a space in which you want to be.
Yes.
And you're operating in a space in which God wants you to be. And I think it is challenging, but I'd rather you cut out the club, cut out all the drinking in singleness than having to maneuver that in marriage. Like y'all going to the club together, y'all drinking a lot together, and it's just like, you know, you want to be clear on what God wants you to do now. But I do know it's challenging. That I think the difficult part about being single is like, when is God gonna bring me somebody?
Yes.
And you've been single for a few years, right?
And honestly, like, maybe some of you are watching this, sometimes I really question if God is going to bring me someone.
He is.
But that's the thing. I think a lot of times, like, and somebody watching this may relate, of being like, I'm watching everybody around me get theirs, but I haven't gotten mine yet, and I feel like I'm prepared. And so that's when I feel like the enemy creeps in and starts making you question, is God going to give you the promise that you know in your heart he's going to give you? And so that's the battle that I face all the time. I mean, even today, I feel like I've been hit with a different level of like warfare before recording this video. And I feel like the enemy really tries to attack me at the point of like, yes, God has this picture in your heart, in your mind, that's ingrained of what your life looks like. But what if that's not going to happen?
That doubt.
Yeah, that doubt. And it's like so interesting because people around me see it so clearly. People are like, no, you're going to have it. Like, it's you. Like, that's what's going to happen. But it's hard to navigate it when you're not in it. You don't see it. And it's like very, very difficult. And like Michael Todd's recent sermon, he was talking about you have to chase after the resolve, not after the result. And so right now I know what God has told me to do. And he's told me to get myself in order. Like, I need to clean up my home. I need to get my body together. I need to get my mind together, go into therapy. I need to get my money together, like make sure that I'm doing well at my job, well at my finances, well with my business, with my art. So I'm trying to be literally
the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
So that when y'all come together, you're already a step ahead. So for me, you know, I feel like I could have prepared myself better for marriage. Like, it's not a surprise, you know? So with my sister and her season, I feel like everything she's doing is things I wish I would have done. You know, I wasn't in therapy. I wasn't in counseling. I just was like, I'm fine, you know, but I should have been in therapy. I should have been in counseling because now I'm in counseling and I go every week. You know, and it's like, I'm doing that work, but if you have the opportunity to do it before you get into a relationship, do it, because it's gonna make it smoother. I feel like I had unnecessary turbulence because I didn't know how to deal with my feelings, because I never had somebody so close to me that you can't really just cut them off. So like in singleness, you can kind of, someone's bothering you, it's like, yeah, you're done. But in marriage, it's like there's certain things that you have to, and I had to work on, because the ways in which I handled things while I was single, I can't do in marriage. So the ways I handle heartache or pain or disappointment, I can't do that in marriage. So I could have prepared myself better. So I do want to encourage my sister and anyone else who's single, definitely focus on yourself, on your self-improvement. Like, I've had to take a hard look at my finances and change up the way that I even reward myself, you know, or the way that I treat myself and just my day-to-day habits, so that we're able to be stronger as a couple. Because if you have bad spending habits, you and your spouse are gonna have that times 10, because when you're in a relationship, it's easy to feel like every day's a holiday, celebration, oh, let's do this. And it's like, Corey and I, when we first got together, I gained a ton of weight. Like, I'm 20 pounds lighter than I was then. Like, you guys can look back on my old videos and see I had gained a lot of weight. What you nodding like that for?
Well, no, like, it's real. Like, relationships weight is real, and I'm just, as you're talking, I'm just thinking.
You're like, ooh, girl, you did put it on.
No, I just am putting myself in those shoes of when I do get in relationships, I gain weight.
It's happy weight.
Yeah, but how it requires a certain level of discipline.
Right,
and
that's discipline.
Right, and so the things that, I think it's interesting to note that, like, my sister is working on things in her marriage and I'm working on them in my singleness, and we can still connect because we're still have to have self-improvement journey no matter what season we're in. And so part of that is, when it comes to our health journey, we have to have a certain level of discipline to say, no, like, even though I'm happy, even though I'm in this relationship, even though I'm sad, even though I'm not in this relationship, or whatever feeling combination it is, I need to owe it to myself enough to say, if my body isn't right, if my health isn't together, then all things are not going to be where they should be.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to avoid, you know, that happy wait. So for me, I'm hoping that I've built up enough infrastructure by going to boot camp in the mornings and by fasting and all the things that it comes from, like having a different lifestyle, will carry over when I get to that relationship to kind of avoid some of that extra turbulence.
Yeah, because you want to be a solid person. So I think when we first got together, a lot of the things I did was like even subconsciously kind of like to get a guy, or, you know, to be like what you're saying, that type of woman, you know? So I would go to the gym because I want to make sure that I'm looking my best because I want to be in a relationship, or, you know, I want to wear makeup because you never know who you're going to run into. You know what I mean? It's like everything was so focused on the man and seeking that approval that by the time I got there, I'm like, well, what do I like? What do I want to do? Why am I going to get up and go to the gym? You know, and you can easily let yourself go, but now it's just a matter of, I want to work out because I want to feel my best. I want to wear makeup sometimes because I feel like it, you know, but it's not all geared for a man. And it's like, when I was single, by the time I got into a relationship, it's like, woohoo, I got what I wanted, you know, but it's not a prize. It's just a compartment of my life. And it's easy to lose yourself when you get into a relationship, like, towards marriage, if you don't have a strong sense of self. So I had to focus on, like, you know, what do I like? What's important to me? You know, what are my goals? And be solid on that so that, you know, let's say, for example, Corey wants to go get ice cream and I have my fitness goals. I'm not swayed by his decisions and where he is, so that I'm able to be accountable for myself, you know? And it's like, it's hard to explain, but I definitely think it's discipline. The discipline to make up your mind and stick to it, despite what somebody else might think. And just being sure of yourself, and being able to rely on yourself to push yourself through the things you want to do, you know, because you like when you get married, what if like you want to have Bible study, but he wants to sleep in, you know? If God puts it on your heart to study, you need to get up and study, you know? So it's like, you can't be easily swayed. And I feel like that's kind of how I wasn't very solid. I didn't have my own routine because my routines were so closely tied to getting in a relationship. And it's taken a lot of work to undo some of those thinking, you know, a lot of it's just a lot.
And so that's why it's really important to like be aware that these are things that you could work on in your singleness, and that you don't need to be completely miserable because you're single and it's not ideal for what you want out of your life. But God has you in this season for a reason.
Hey,
you had to go through that breakup. You had to, you know, miss out on that opportunity with a relationship because it wasn't what God had for you. And you wouldn't even have been able to see the type of person that God has for you had you not had the opportunity and lost it. So for me, I thought I was in my dream relationship, and I was operating out of a lot of delusion, thinking that this was the best that God had for me because of how I felt. But then when I went through the horrible breakup and went through the grieving and process, I was able to see like, wait, like there are so many red flags that I avoided because I was operating out of delusion and operating out of my desires and not out of God's desires for me, that now I'm able to see like, wait, like there's a whole different type of man out there that's more aligned with where God is taking me. But I had to go through that because my desires would have always referenced that situation had I not dealt with that heartbreak. And so I just want to encourage you that if you are hurting in your heart, and if you are disappointed and discouraged and feeling like, man, like I thought this was it and it wasn't it, that's because God has something better for you. And I'm saying this over you. I'm saying this over me because I'm still in a season of figuring it out. But in my heart, I do believe in the promise that God has for me. And I know that God didn't put me through this or even just allow something like this to come in my life if it wasn't going to be for his greater good. And so that's why it's on my heart to share this with you guys, because I have spent a lot of time studying, learning, and changing and trying to understand what a godly relationship looks like. I had no idea I was doing relationships wrong my whole life. So like my sister was saying, we have to undo some of these things that we've been doing our entire lives. And it's a process, but you might as well start now and just
you're going to have to do the work anyway.
You have to do it. So just take the optimistic approach and say, you know what? I want this life, so I am not going to settle for me being the reason why it doesn't happen.
And I think like you can work on having a healthy marriage while you're single, because every book you read, every sermon you listen to, every time you deny your flesh, you are setting yourself up to have a healthy marriage. And you're building up your spirit and that'll help you to withstand it. And don't get it twisted. Like, I'm not perfect, you know, and I think sometimes there's a perception of, oh, she's married, she has it all together. No, it's just, at the end of the day, it's a covenant, it's a ring, it's a name change, but it's still me. It's still me. I'm still the same person. So it's like, you know, even once you get married, you have to continue to be growing and learning and willing to change. Like, one of the biggest things I have to work on is forgiveness. You know, and that I never even realized how much of an issue that was until I got in a marriage or just a relationship in general. Yeah, forgiveness is something that you can work on while single that translates directly to marriage. So anything you can do to improve yourself, get a head start on it, because there's nothing fun about getting married and not being your best self. Or thinking that you are your best self because, oh, I'm engaged, I'm married, I'm great. Girl, bye. You're the same person, you know? So I think that our society puts so much emphasis on relationships as if you're nothing, if you're not in one. And that's just not true. So yeah, I spent the majority of my life single, and it was challenging. And I always felt like, why am I not in a relationship? Why don't I have somebody? And this is back to like junior high school. You know, why is everyone in a relationship but me? What's wrong with me? And over time, that you internalize that, and it hurts your self-worth. So even now, for me personally, one of the things I'm working on is self-worth, you know, and it's like, what story do you tell yourself? How do you encourage yourself? These are things that you can work on in any season of your life. How to be a better friend to yourself. And just because you do get in a relationship doesn't mean that those things go away. So I think you're doing the right thing by focusing on improving yourself and trusting God, even though you don't know when.
Oh, I don't know when.
But you're God, choosing to trust him.
Yes.
Instead of worry, even though the easy route is to worry.
Yeah, and I felt like I had two options. I could either be in the world or I could be in the word when it comes to how I heal from heartache. And I would much rather stay close to God and have that encouragement than be out in these streets like, oh, I'm going to go try to date this guy and that guy, and then just have a compounding hurt. Like, I would rather be alone in isolation and purity than be out in this world being just like contaminated by all these negative things. Because you have to understand, like, you'll get soul ties out here dealing with the wrong person, and the demons and the things that they're battling jump on and become your own problems. And so now you're breaking off so many more things than if you just stay true to the course that you know you're supposed to be on.
And you also can get jaded. I remember I felt like I was getting jaded. Like, I got to the point where I'm like, all guys are terrible.
Yeah.
They all want one thing, you know? And when you feel yourself getting to that point, it's okay to take a season and work on yourself.
Yeah.
Since you've been in this season of spending more time pouring into yourself and growing, your artwork has gone to a completely different level.
Yeah.
And you've had so many different opportunities. God has blessed you so much. And sometimes I feel like the devil tries to get us to think about what we don't have.
Yeah.
And, you know, oh, if only I had this, I'd be so much better or so much happier.
Yeah.
But you are doing great.
Thank
and
you.
I think that, you know, your story is encouraging to other people. And I know that it has been challenging, you know, with me being your younger sister.
Yeah.
I know that that's been like difficult.
Yeah. I mean, you know, comparison is like one of the most interesting things, because you could look at something and if it's a good day, you can find the good in it. But then if you're having a hard day, comparison can go down like a really negative spiral. And so it is really difficult being the older sister and not being married and supporting my sister through her marriage and all that comes with being married. But I'm still like, oh my gosh, I'm single. I don't know who I'm going to be with. And then I think it might be this person. Then that shifts. And I'm still going through the roller coaster of singleness. And it's like, man, I feel like I'm behind the curve. But, you know, God has different plans for all of us. And so I know my sister is supposed to be married right now. That's why she's married. And I'm supposed to be single right now. And I think that another thing to understand is that my journey with my purpose is deeply connected to the pain that I feel in singleness. So one of the reasons why my art does so well is because the story that I tell is really deeply connected to my heart. The images that I pick are very connected to my heart. They're things that Black women, especially I would say single Black women, can connect to my stories in a different level, because I'm really talking about what God is doing through me. And so I felt like I had the opportunity to pour into this and just see how God elevates it. And the way in which God has elevated my art, I am so sure he's going to do the same thing when it comes to a man. I would have never thought that I would be in the spaces, or that people would know my name, or that certain people would be collecting my art like they do. And I am expecting God to do this when it comes to my relationship status as well, that when he does bring me my person, and when I do find my husband and get married, it's going to be the same wow effect of me saying, you know, I couldn't do this on my own. Yeah. That's why I want to share this with you now, so that you can be encouraged when it does happen for me, that God's going to do it for you as well. I just need to keep saying that to myself, because even on the days that it's difficult, I need to remember that God is playing a bigger game of chess in my life. This is not something small. This is not something easy. And it needs to be very clear that this is not something that Tyler did on her own. This is something that only God could have set up, just like with my art.
And God sees a big picture. You only see the small picture. So if you choose somebody for yourself, 10 years down the line, you don't want to be like, dang, like, is this what God had for me? You want to be sure, because when you do get married, you know, the intention is for it to be for life, and you don't want to have any doubts. Like, did I make the right decision? Right. Was this my own will, or was this what God wanted? And being close to God in singleness sets you up to have a healthier future. The world makes it seem like alcohol is a solution, drugs is a solution, partying, like being more scantily, you know, dressing more promiscuously is the solution, but it's not. Those are all things that are vanity, self-soothing and trying to make yourself feel better. But the right thing to do was counseling, church, sermons, and just being in fellowship, spending time with family, and just knowing, yes, it is challenging. Yes, it is difficult. And it's okay to embrace that it's a challenging season. But I've always found it to be true that nothing worth having comes without sacrifice. Nothing worth having comes easily. And if you want that long-lasting situation, you have to go through that challenging stuff. And even for you, I feel like you've worked a lot through your pain. You've worked a lot through your like difficult experiences. And I feel like a lot of times if you rebound, you don't actually work through the work that needs to be done. And you have to do it at some point. And if you don't work through it, it comes out lashing out. It comes out with just in random ways, you know. But you're doing the hard work so that you can just walk in what God has for you in the future. So I think that, you know, it is challenging when you know, it comes to comparison. I compare myself all the time. And I was telling her yesterday, like, even in marriage, it's easy to be like, well, why am I not a wife like this person? Or, you know, you might even think like, maybe I don't really think like this, but I'm just giving a perspective. But like, why isn't my husband like so-and-so? Or why doesn't he do what so-and-so does? You know, it's just an example, but you can easily compare yourself to the next person. Or dang, so-and-so cooks, I don't cook. Does that make me a bad wife? Or, you know, what do people think about me? And it's not just isolated to one specific season. So taking this season to get a hold on that will set you up for more peace, you know, in the future. Yeah, comparison is just not fun. And I struggle with it. I struggle with it too. Yeah. And it's challenging. And it makes you feel bad. It's human. It makes you feel bad for what you have. Yeah, and that's why we have to like be in community, because when my sister's not feeling the best, I can encourage her by giving her relatable things going on in my life, that she should be, you know, blessed with what she's going through. And just, you know, we have to be really clear that we're taking isolation with a grain of salt, like knowing when you need somebody to talk to, knowing when you need to go to your therapist, knowing when you need to call a friend or a family member, and making sure that you're also getting somebody to remind you of who you are. Because when you get in those moments of feeling bad about yourself, you forget how amazing you are and how worthy you are. And like my sister, she's so confident that somebody's going to come to me, but on the days where I'm feeling a little down about it, she could be like, no, it's coming. And I know that's for a fact. Like, I don't even doubt it. And it's like, you got to be willing to speak into people when they don't see it in themselves. Like, there's times where I have challenges in my life, and my sister will say, no, you're doing great. Or she'll just give me a different perspective. And it's like, I appreciate having her to lean on. And we're in different seasons, but we're ultimately working through the same stuff. And nobody's better than anybody else. And nobody's worse off than anybody else. We're all brothers and sisters in Christ. We're all going through something. And we just hope to encourage somebody else, you know, who might be going through something similarly. Because we all have room to grow. Nobody's perfect. Nobody just arrives. You know, you're always striving, but you should be encouraged, because, you know, even if you're watching this video, obviously you're looking for some positivity, and, you know, just be encouraged wherever you are, whatever you're going through, whether it's singleness or unforgiveness, or you're struggling with comparison, or you're struggling with jealousy or rejection. There's so many different things.
And there's so many things.
It feels like if it's not one thing, it's another.
It
like
is.
God always trying to make us grow.
Yeah, we're growing. We are always growing and evolving, but just know that you are so important and you are so loved, and somebody needs you. Whether it's a friend or, you know, your sister, somebody needs your perspective.
Coworker even.
Yeah, like you never know. And when we speak about forgiveness, it is not just in the area of relationships. I had to learn and really practice forgiveness when it came to my work environment, because I had issues with people at my job that I was harboring onto and internalizing all these things, feeling like I wasn't good enough or qualified enough. And so when I became a more forgiving person, trying to be more Christ-like on this journey, then relationships started to get better. And so I'm learning to forgive and to forgive quickly, so that I'm not sitting here dwelling on something negative. I pray about it. I talk about it if I need to somebody that I can trust, and I move forward. But the quicker I forgive, the better I am, the happier I am, and the better the relationships are around me. And I know for a fact that by being a more forgiving person in my own life, when I get with somebody, I will be more forgiving of them when they do something that maybe misses the mark of what I had in mind, or something that disappoints the expectations that I've built up.
She was gonna say all that and be like, girl, what?
But it's true, we have to be forgiving, because it makes life so much easier when you're not harboring onto other people's things.
And it's like, it's easy to feel like you're the police of, like, the wrong police. Like, no, you need to get it together.
Right.
You need to take this online course and learn how to do this. You know, but it's like, it's really not godly to be unforgiving and harboring that, and it gives you a lot of weight. It makes it so if you have an issue with a coworker and you're holding on to that unforgiveness, and you feel like you have the right to be upset, the right to be mad, and you feel justified, don't expect to go home and treat your family any better, because it's all connected. You have to treat people with respect and treat them how you want to be treated at the end of the day. And it's hard. It's hard, but that's what we're striving towards. You know, like, if so-and-so falls short, can I give them the same grace that I would want them to give me when I am at some point going to fall short? When you feel like you've been wronged, it's easy to feel like you've never wronged somebody a day in your life. It's only a matter of time before you mess up on the other end, you know? So it's like, I think that it's good to, like, focus on forgiving quick. I do find that when I do focus on that, I'm able to just drop it and move on. Because holding on to it, it makes you bitter.
And I think it seems so hard to let go of something, because it's really true. A lot of times we are entitled to be mad. We're entitled to feel, you know, like somebody has done us wrong. But if you can, like, be humble enough to say, you know what, hey, like, this person does deserve the grace, then it'll make your life better and you will be elevated. So it's just important to let that stuff go, because who has time to be carrying weight that is just, like, bigger than us?
Right. Being mad, holding grudges, like, that takes a lot of energy. And if you just drop it, let it go, move on, you can focus on other things.
And you'll be blessed in that. Like,
God honors that. So it's a lot of, like, learning to deny your flesh, and just making better decisions. And everything you're doing is a lot of work. It's not easy, but it will pay off, you know, and you'll be glad when you do walk into that next season and you don't have that extra weight on you.
Right.
Because moving through your past relationships with that weight accumulating
over time,
you know, it made for an unhealthy situation. And the same for me, because you can't carry negativity and baggage and things from childhood and past belief systems and, you know, doubts about yourself and come into a relationship and have a positive relationship. You got to work through all of it. And that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, and you deserve it. You deserve to be able to heal. You deserve to be able to find peace. And you deserve the future that you know you want. Like, I'm in a point right now where I know my future has to be close. It has to be. But I'm still going to work just as diligently no matter how long it takes, because I refuse to just miss that mark of purpose.
And you don't want to settle for less, because it's not even enjoyable. Like, I remember going out to the bar. I remember remember going out to bars, people would be like, oh, if you don't go out, you're not gonna meet anybody. You're not gonna meet nobody being at home, girl.
It's awkward. It's so awkward.
I would go out and I'm just like, I'm tired. I don't want to be around these people. You're being creepy. Get away from me. Don't touch me.
This is true. She hated it.
Don't touch.
I used to love to go out.
Don't touch.
She would be like, I'm ready to go.
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, but I'm just getting started.
Don't touch.
And I'm like, man, I was having fun.
I'd be tired. Come around 9 o'clock, I'm about ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Or at least lay down. Like, I was doing stuff that I didn't enjoy doing because I felt like I had to. And that's not the way it should work.
Right.
You know, what I enjoy doing when I started to embrace my singleness, I like going to the mall, going to Bath and Body Works, going out to dinner. That's the type of stuff I like to do. Go to Starbucks, go shopping, but going to the club, drinking a whole lot, it didn't fit me. So, you know, everybody was saying like, oh, you need to be out and about if you're going to meet somebody. And obviously they have your best interests at heart, but you don't want to be performing and putting yourself in spaces you wouldn't naturally be in, because then you're going to find someone that you shouldn't be with. But Corey ended up reaching out to me through Instagram, and guess where I was? At home.
So it can work. You don't have to be in spaces that you don't want to be in. And I think it's so important to own that decision. If you feel like the Holy Spirit is telling you not to go somewhere and everybody around you is telling you to do it, it doesn't matter what everybody thinks. It matters what you know you're supposed to be doing, because you don't want to be out of line with the will of God knowingly. Like, of course, we're all human. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect people, but we should at least have the focus to try to do the right thing.
Yeah, and you want to be comfortable with what you're doing. Like, if the things you're doing to get out there make you feel convicted and bad, or the clothes you might wear out to the club, if that's where you're going. I don't know where y'all be going. If you're going to the club, you have on, you know, a really, really provocative outfit. Like, do you even feel comfortable? Like, do you feel peace in what you're doing? Because guess what? When I would light a candle and sit at home, I felt all types of peace. And I think with that, it's important because if you're in a season where you're changing, don't expect the people around you to just understand why you're changing or to necessarily walk that same walk with you. Because for me, I came from the world of, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do what I want on the weekends and have a good time. And now that I don't live that life, and my life is very focused on art and really focused on healing and spiritual development and, you know, healthy relationships around me, like, there's people in my life that don't understand when I say no. Like, I don't want to go to that party. I don't want to go to this thing because it doesn't fit the life that I'm living now. And when I do go, I feel really uncomfortable and it's not as enjoyable for me. There's occasions where I do go have a good time, like, don't get me wrong, but that is not my focus anymore. And I have to understand that and when
everybody
you say
won't
do
get
go
it.
have a good time, you're not talking about going to the club.
I mean,
Sister Tyler, you're not talking about going to the club, are you?
I mean, I might go to the club once in a while to celebrate something for somebody. Like, I'm not opposed to the club at all. Like, I don't think it's horrible. Look, she would not even step foot in it. But, like, I may, but it's not my norm. Like, that's the exception to my norm.
Ryan sometimes performs. He plays the piano. He might be at the club or something.
At the club? Not at the club. See, she doesn't even know. But all I'm saying is you need to find the right balance for you, and you need to be able to take ownership in whatever decisions you're making and wherever positions you're putting yourself in. Just be very mindful of like what's going on and being aware of yourself to be safe, to be healthy.
Tyler just wanted to share some of her journey. Let me know down below if you would like us to do more videos like this, just talking through stuff. Well, obviously this video is a little bit more about singleness, but if you would like us to talk more about comparison or unforgiveness and things like that, definitely let me know down below, because we could talk about this stuff forever. I will have her information down below if you want to follow her on Instagram, as well as myself. Thank you again to Faithful Counseling for sponsoring today's video. If you are interested, definitely be sure to check out the description box. As always, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
You gonna pray?
Yes.
Dear God.
Father God. My God. Oh, an awesome God.
My hands are hot. Please hurry.
But the Lord is on time. Did you know that the Lord spits
Quit playing!
No, but did you know that the Lord spits out lukewarm believers? Hot hands.
Stop!
Is an example of the Lord's grace. Hallelujah.
Can you do a real prayer, please?
Like, deciding that I'm not doing that anymore. It's
Bro,
I just swallowed down the wrong pipe.
bro. I don't know.
Okay. So deciding that you're not gonna do that.
Dude.
I just swallowed down the wrong pipe.
Dude, okay.
But anyway, so deciding that you're not gonna like stop it.
Well, I was looking at you. Do you want me to not look? Then you gotta crop it and it's gonna be weird.
It's fine.
Okay.
But anyways, deciding that you're not gonna do that anymore. Y'all,
Okay, you gotta do it over. Just
I don't even know what I said.
Deciding that you're not gonna do that anymore.
Oh, so ahead. So for me, my voice just cracked. For me, my hands look so big.
Dude, focus.
Are you ready?
No.
Why are you looking
Start
away?
over. You're being weird.
You wanna be like me so bad.
I'm done.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that was good. I think it was a good conversation.